afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the August 28th meeting of the Columbia Rotary Club. We're going to get started with some music with Rusty and Audrey.
Dear Lord, on this day, we are reminded of so many things that we take for granted. A good meal, a roof over our head, a job, a car, friendships. We remember those who don't have those things right now or who recently lost them as those who were affected by the hurricane. Help us remember that as Rotarians, when we give to others, we are ultimately serving you. For this food, for those, the hands that prepared it, and those that eat it, we ask all of your blessings, and we ask you to bless us as we go through this week. Amen.
Thank you, Audrey. Very, very good prayer. All right, I wanted to remind everybody the card buckets that are on your desk, or that are on your tables, if you'll please reach deep into your pockets and your purses and put your spare change in those card buckets. And Don, are you ready to come on up? We're going to do visiting Rotarians and guests, and I've got Don Mobley's coming up here.
Good afternoon. I'm Don Mobley. I'm a CPA with Scott & Company, downtown Columbia. I've been asked for us to have a moment of silence for Mel Stubbins. Thank you. Don't have any visitors today. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
In that, there it works, in that same spirit, last week, I know you read the reports of a very tragic incident that occurred in Charleston, where a disgruntled employee shot and killed one of his fellow former employees. I went to the memorial service yesterday. This occurred at a restaurant in Charleston. And the widow, delightful young lady, got up and spoke about the love that they had for the community and the love that they had received from the community during this very difficult time. And that kind of resilience is something that we all try to demonstrate, folks in Houston are trying to demonstrate now. But the lesson really rings true that out of a tragedy such as that sometimes there is something positive that can occur. And I really sensed that coming out of that memorial service, that a lot of people pledged to live better and do better than they have been in their lives, in their daily lives. But I would like you, in the same spirit of our honoring bell, to please join in a moment of silence for the chef, Chef Shane Whitten, who tragically lost his life last week. Thank you very much.
Don't have any visitors today, but I know we've got at least one guest. There we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carl Byers. My guest today is Andy Shane, the Columbia Bureau Chief for Post and Courier. And Andy has agreed to stay behind after the meeting today if you're interested in talking about what's exciting and new for the Post and Courier. So, Andy Shane, welcome.
Any other guests? Looks like that's it. So welcome, everyone. Have a good lunch.
Thank you, Don, appreciate you. All right, we have one guest here today. You guys, y'all gotta start bringing some people to this club. We need to fill up these tables. Bring your friends, tell everybody about this club. We'd love to have tons of guests every single week. Jimmy, are you ready for health and happiness? Okay, I'm gonna call Jimmy Derrick up here, and he's got some stuff to talk to y'all about health and happiness wise.
Good afternoon. We got some things to talk about here. First of all, I also had the message about Mel Stephens, who was a really great citizen of this city. And we sold him his house when he first came to town, and he and his wife were just, Kathy, they're just super people. Very, very sad. Bob Crutchfield has had back surgery. That's why he's not sitting back there with you guys. He's getting out today. I understand it has been difficult. And Tom Jones, his wife Sue Jones, had shoulder surgery, and I think she's still in the hospital. Also, Tom Persons came up to me, and we all know we need to do this. We need to pray for Houston. If you remember, Houston was really nice to Columbia back when we had our flood, and Tom's son has a clothing store, boutique clothing store in Houston, and it has flooded. However, the house at this moment seems to be okay, although it's still raining in Houston. So we all need to be sure and put Houston certainly on our prayer list. Richard Boss's daughter had twins. She already had two boys, and so naturally she had, guess what, twin boys. So now she can have 4 instead of 2. And I assure you, I got twin sisters and I got twin daughters, and it's a whole different world. Also, my wife Laura Derrick is going to be installed on Thursday as the president of the State South Carolina Association of Realtors, which is a job that Andy Walker had once upon a time. So we're excited about that, and she'll be the 7th female state president. Not that there's anything wrong with male presidents, but that's what she told me anyway. Okay, people ask me all the time, say, Jimmy, what is your hobby? What is your hobby? What do you do? What do you do for a hobby? And I started thinking about that. I don't play golf, shoot golf, or whatever you call it. I don't play tennis. I don't, so I started thinking, other than drinking Macallan 12-year-old and a bottle of wine at night, what do you do for a hobby? So I guess my hobby could be auctioneering, I suppose. Because I do a lot of auctioneering, and the other night, and by the way, Scott Davis, who's with Coldwell Banker, also helps me with all the auctions, and has been doing that for a long time. We did an auction the other night for a group I've never heard of before, the Therapy Place, and I mean, it was really exciting, and what a great group of folks they are, and we had a wonderful time. I asked Scott, I said, well, how good do you think we did? He said, well, I don't know, the lady was crying. So I guess that meant we raised a lot of money. I think we raised over $25,000. They didn't think they were going to raise anything, so I thought that was pretty good. I was a substitute auctioneer. Which brings me to another topic here, that you can take tragedy and you can turn it into something very good. And I want to tell you a true story, and it is about folks in my family. My daughter and son-in-law, who happens to be the punter for the Carolina Panthers, who was a three-time Pro Bowler, who was with the 49ers for 11 years. A little over 2.5 years ago, our little granddaughter was born, and she had a little fluid in her lungs, and they put her in the NICU, and then the next thing we know, after the 5th day in the NICU, all of a sudden she caught a staph infection from, we assume, a bad needle. And the next thing we know, she was dead. So that was after 8 days. So my son-in-law, who had always worn jersey number 4 for his 12 years in the NFL, changed his jersey number to number 8 in honor of her. And then we sat around one day and we were talking, and they said, we want to do something. Instead of running around getting a lawyer, they decided they wanted to do something better than that. Okay, so they formed Madeline's Fund. Okay, that's the name of our granddaughter. And if you'll notice, I have a different pen on here today than my real estate pen. This is a Madeline's Fund pen. I also have on Madeline's Fund cufflinks, which I had specially made. And I also have a Madeline's Fund hat that I wear a right good little bit. So let me tell you what these kids did and what we were able to do. They live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we got together with a group of their friends up there, and we decided that we would have a function and we would have something to take care of families who lose their little babies and who perhaps do not have the income or the money to bury those children. So we also knew that there were folks who couldn't afford to have their little children in the NICU, because that's very, very expensive. As my son-in-law said, I signed a birth certificate and a death certificate at the same time. I put my granddaughter on our insurance and took her off at the same time. What can we do to help people? So we had this function, and what we did is we put together a big auction up at the Charlotte Country Club, and we put together a golf tournament, and we were able to raise in Charlotte that night and that next Monday $350,000. And to this point, we have now been able to help with the burial of 19 little babies in the Charlotte market. So I will also tell you that we already have it booked again for next year, where we will be having the same event, and hopefully we might even, one of my goals will be able to eventually be able to bring Madeline's Fund to Columbia, South Carolina, so we can help here. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Libby, you ready? All right. So we had a board meeting last week, and we were discussing some ideas that I've been meeting with a lot of the presidents of some of the other clubs in the area. And in particular, Scott Stevens, who's the president of the Greenville Rotary, a very comparable Rotary to ours in size, had some really great ideas about how to encourage guests to come and encourage all of you to bring more guests to visit us and hopefully grow our membership. So we're going to start doing something every week called Discover Rotary, and so I want all of you to be thinking about why you're in this club, because you may be tapped to come up here and tell us why you love Rotary. So Libby, if you want to go ahead.
Thanks, President Carey. Carey has asked me to chair this effort, so of course then I get to go first. but I will be calling on all of you. And I think the key word is going to be brief here, because we want to be brief in what we do. But we would like to, for several months or maybe a year now, we've been doing a little bit of an introduction. When people come up to introduce speakers or whatever, a little bit of an introduction of themselves, which helps us get to know each other. So I think that's an excellent idea. So I will start. And I feel, like Jimmy just mentioned, with no hobbies, I feel a little inefficient or ineffective or something because I don't have any hobbies. Actually, this is more my hobby. Getting together with friends and family and sharing things is more my hobby. But to tell you a little bit of history about myself, I was actually born in North Carolina, and but Columbia is home. I went to high school and college here. Yes, I am a Gamecock. And since we're embarking on football season, I have to say, full disclosure, I am a diehard Bama fan. Yes, Adam, I knew Adam would recognize that. With all that being said, I have not always lived in Columbia. I've lived a couple of different places, but I always end up coming back here. So that's something to be said for that, right? I did go to Spring Valley High School, which was so many years ago, which puts me in the same age bracket as several in this room, because I was the very first graduating class from Spring Valley. Which, if you do that math, yes, I'm very old. But the good news about getting older is this today is my 19th anniversary with the city of Columbia, and I can retire in 276 days. Those are calendar days, not work days, okay? I graduated from Carolina with a degree in accounting. Like I said, that's so old, we don't even remember those days. But I worked, and I'm a little envious of the people who start a career and stay in that career path and stay, not necessarily with the same company, but with the same discipline, because I've had a lot of little careers in my life, I guess. My 19 years with the city has been my longest stint I've done anywhere. I was actually a buyer for a J.B. White's department store, if any of you remember that, many years ago. And like I said, I've lived a couple of different places. In Chattanooga, Tennessee, I was actually in real estate. That was fun. And now I serve as executive assistant to Columbia City Council, which that in and of itself is enough, but I also administer all the money that the city gives out. So that in and of itself is enough also. So now you see why I have it down to 276 days. Not that I'm counting, but it is 276 days today. I came back to Columbia to work for the city when I lived in Chattanooga. Some of you may remember Leona Plow, who passed away last year. I came back to Columbia to work for her. And we started in community development, and then as she became city manager, she forced me to go with her. So that's how I ended up where I am. And another piece of this, and one more time, I've been there 19 years, 276 days until I can retire. But I will tell you, it's been rewarding to be here. Sometimes I feel like when I have no hobbies, also I'm a public servant. I got nothing. I mean, I don't sell anything, I don't do anything, I just, I got nothing. But being a public servant, there are some benefits to it. I've gotten to know some of you in this room. Most of you through the nonprofits who are looking for dollars, I've gotten to know you quite well. Others because of city activities that you have, that you run into some sort of a wall that you need a little bit of help with, and several people I've been able to help. So I can be effective sometimes, but for 276 days I will be effective. But also a part of this is to tell what Rotary means to you. This is why we call it Discover Rotary. And I wish Jack Van Loan was here. He's the one who got me into Rotary so many years ago. And for many years, Jack kept asking me about this, and I kept thinking, I don't have time. I can't do that. I can't do anything that meets every week. I just can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. Well, if you know and love Jack Van Loan as I do, he can be persistent. So, voila, here I am. But I would tell you, when I try to tell people about Rotary and what it means to me, Of course, it's about service, and of course, the four-way test that we can't forget. And unfortunately, not all of us, and I'm speaking mostly for myself, not for you guys, do not always live up to that four-way test in everything we say and do. There are exceptions. I seem to have a lot of those. But Rotary is, and the biggest thing about Rotary that I would say, if I had to just say one thing, it's just like so many other things that you do in life. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. If you just come to the meetings and you just walk out, you're going to say, oh, that's not much. Well, it's not much, but you have to get involved. You have to serve on committees. And this is mainly for the newer people in Rotary, but also some of us older folks who have not necessarily gotten involved at whatever level we may have planned to or wanted to or need to or now want to. But I would encourage you to get involved, get on a committee, and also the activities that we do, the service projects that we do, the hands-on stuff that we do, that is so rewarding, but also you get to make friends. You make some acquaintances in this club that you keep up with, and you can also make some very dear friends. I think this is a great club. The camaraderie here is very vibrant, I do believe. So I would encourage you to do that. And when we do the ringing the bell type thing, it's really good to get involved and do that. And when we do the food packing and different things that we do out in the community, that is huge. That is really huge. The service that we do for the community is so important. But I have to remind you that the service that Rotary does internationally is phenomenal. We are part of such a big, I don't even know, what is it, how many million now? I don't know how many million, but anyway, so many millions. So just know that Rotary is bigger than all of us. What we do here is important, but Rotary is bigger than all of us. So I would leave you with that and encourage you, if you want to have your turn, if you want to call me, I'll get you signed up. And we can do this so that we get to know each other a little better. And we get to hear what Rotary means to everyone. Thank you.
So when Libby calls you, answer her call so you can come up here. Robin, are you ready? We've got a new member induction today. We're going to do really quickly. Bring a new member into our club, John Peterson, and his sponsor Mark Lett. And I'll give this over to. I'll give the mic over to you.
Thank you, President Carey. As Libby just finished, I thought, gosh, John, you and I had a great discussion, and you just got it for the second time. So, Libby, thank you very much. You really kind of went over a lot of things that we talked about in our president's chat. As you all know, customary, when someone is going to be inducted into the Columbia Rotary Club, they have the opportunity to meet with the past president, to learn more about our club in particular, and to have the opportunity to ask questions and for us to get to know more about the individual. And John is I will tell you, first of all, we're in good luck. He is a Rotarian. He was a Rotarian when he was in Oklahoma, and so as I started talking to him, I said, gosh, you know the drill. So he is going to hit the ground running. John is now in Columbia, came in 2016. He is with the University of South Carolina, and he is Dean of the College of Education. And several at our table were talking about the challenge for teachers here in South Carolina, so hopefully we'll have an opportunity down the road that John can talk with us about what South Carolina is facing with the teacher shortage in the future. He's a graduate of, well, first of all, you came here from Norman, Oklahoma, correct? And in Norman, Oklahoma, I think this is correct, you were part of a group study to Argentina, or was this prior to going to Norman? Okay. He and his wife, Connie, have one daughter, Kaylee, who is in New York. She's a graduate of Columbia University, and we hope that we'll have her here soon to be part of our Columbia community. Also, you were born in Fremont, Nebraska, and you said you attended a one-room schoolhouse. That's interesting. So, hey, there's the background right there for what you're doing. Absolutely. Of course, his interesting thing is that his hobby is downhill skiing. And I was thinking as we were sitting there, well, we have skateboarding here, but I don't know, I think you'll have to go to the mountains to hit the ski slopes. But hopefully the hot weather will not be too much for someone who is used to that hobby. John's sponsor is Mark Lett, and please welcome John to the Columbia Rotary Club. John, if you and Mark will give you a minute. What I called today when I was talking to John, I said this is what you call kind of the past president's chat, not to be confused with the fireside chat, which you know about that. So I think a fireside chat is maybe next week, September the 11th, and at that time you'll learn more about the different areas of the Rotary for this club and committees and more involvement. John, welcome to our Columbia Rotary Club.
John, we're so glad to have you. I'd like to see you very involved in this club. We're right on time, and I'm going to call Andy Walker up here to introduce our speaker.
My name's Andy Walker. I'm not sure I've stood behind this microphone before to speak before the Rotary Club, but it dawned on me as I was waiting, you're going to get a couple of heavy doses of two things. One is you're going to hear from three realtors today, Jimmy and me and our speaker. And the other heavy dose is Presbyterian College, because our speaker went there, I went there, and three of his four kids went there. So we've got a rich tie to a few things. When I say we're lucky to have our speaker today, we're really lucky to have our speaker today, because about 10 minutes ago, somebody ran into him as he was pulling in the seals, messed up the front of his car, but here he is, and we're glad to have him. Our speaker today is Ralph Norman, the congressman from our 5th Congressional District. Ralph was elected in a special election in May of this year after Mick Mulvaney became the director of our Office of Management and Budget. The district, I went on the website and did a little research. This is what his district entails. All of the following counties: Cherokee, Chester, Fairfield, Kershaw, Lancaster, Lee, Union, and York, and a little bit of Newberry, Spartanburg, and Sumter. So he's got a lot of folks to represent, and he does a fine job doing it. Our speaker is a lifelong resident of the 5th Congressional District, graduated from Rock Hill High School in 1971 and PC in 1975 with a degree in business. He joined his father's real estate company at that time and actually has grown it into be one of South Carolina's most successful commercial real estate development companies. He's done a lot in his community over the years, as you can imagine. Just a few include the York County Home Builders Association, the Salvation Army, and the Medical University of South Carolina Board of Visitors. Served 10 years in the House here in South Carolina before going to Washington, consistently voting in favor of limited government, financially sound policies, and private property rights. He's been married to Elaine for 42 years and is the proud father of 4 children: Ralph, Ann, Mary Catherine, and Caroline. And he didn't tell me this, but I bet he's also especially proud of his 15 grandchildren. Welcome, Ralph Norman.
This is a great turnout. Jimmy, that's just how I wrote it, and I appreciate you saying those things. Yeah, I was involved in a wreck, so if you see a policeman come in, he's not coming to arrest me. I hadn't done anything in Washington that I shouldn't have done. But no, we go way back with Rotary. Hal Stevenson I've known, Rusty Pass I've known for a long time, and I have been involved for since I got out of PC. Libby, I know you were quoting some days. I've been in Congress for 16 days, 2 hours and 15 seconds. Who's counting? But no, I was in a special election on June 20th. I was sworn in on the 27th. And typically you have a 2-month period to, I guess, initiation. And I was sworn in that afternoon. Speaker Ryan performed the ceremonies. I was voting that night. So it's baptism by fire. I will tell you, everybody asks me, what's it like? How's it different from the General Assembly? And what's interesting, the rules are completely different than in Columbia, South Carolina. So that's a whole new process. But that'll come in time, and I can't tell you how grateful I am to be there, because I think South Carolina has got a great opportunity. And I say that because not only do I think it's a pivotal time in this country's history, when can you remember when we've had two people, in Mick Mulvaney and ex-Governor Haley, this close to President Trump? We can call on any issue and have the ear of the president, which is a good thing. And so that's a powerful tool that we've got. And secondly, I think, as Jimmy mentioned, we've got a ideal time for conservatisms. We have been given the reins in the executive branch, with the Senate, and with the House now, to affect some really good changes. I ran, and I will tell you that had the opposite happened, had Mr. Clinton been elected, I was going out of politics. I think we were at that critical stage when, with her being elected, I was going back home. I had a great construction company, and we were going to continue to do what we did and continue to do now. But I will tell you, I'm very excited when, I think as most of you were, we didn't realize President Trump could win, but he did. And we elected somebody that was not a politician. He didn't have the establishment. He didn't have either party, to be honest with you. And I will tell you, in my way of thinking, aside, and you hear a lot of different ideas, but I will tell you, in Washington, D.C., I've never seen such a concerted effort to basically run him out of office. Now, I understand about his method of communication. I understand about some things he may say. But here's where I come down on. When he put up Neil Gorsuch for the Supreme Court, that was a win for this country, in my opinion. When the executive orders were passed that he's done, you're talking about getting churches back involved, the faith community. When he put an executive order that basically took the threat of the tax of churches that get involved in the political arena with being exempt, taken away from their tax exempt status, he's done that. The federal lands that he's put in that were taken out over the last 8 years. All these are positive things that he will never give credit. And I was talking to, get the politician, but he was saying if they recorded this president walking on water, the press release would be, he doesn't know how to swim. And so I think that we've got a tremendous opportunity. I think the good things that are happening, you will all hear the stalemates and the fact that we can't get anything done. The House has passed 270 bills. They're stalled in the Senate. I mentioned the things that on executive orders which have to be codified. But I knew when I saw the Vice President have to come down to the Senate to cast the deciding vote to just discuss health care, to just discuss it, that amazed me. That's the kind of divide that we have, but I don't know of really any more important issue that we've got than health care. I do think we'll pass a health care bill in September. You ought to have all of as many congressmen, I guess Joe Wilson and maybe Mark Sanford represent, and Clyburn, parts of this area, but have them back here and discuss the votes that we take, because September's going to be a busy time. We're going to be there late at night voting on particular issues, and I think we will come up with something. Whether it'll be what we all want, I don't know, But I will tell you that when you hear the whole debate about healthcare, from my limited time there, it's about competition. I passed Publix on the way in from the interstate. What would it be like if we only had Publix to shop for groceries? What do you think you'd be paying for groceries? What do you think if we had one gas station to shop at? What do you think we do hotels? If I built the only hotel and that's all you had. And when I think about it, we got one health care provider in the state. I ought to be able to buy health insurance in Texas, Colorado, if I want to. Competition is what I'm about as a private business, and it's what you will see playing out, hopefully, that we'll have free choice. Hopefully we'll expand our HSA accounts where businesses can write off the premiums. Hopefully we can craft our own health care plan, which is a change for the last 8 years. My wife and I are not going to have children anymore. We're not Strom Thurmond. Our days are over having children. So we don't need maternity care. We don't need to pay for that. So I ought to be able to craft my own health plan. So after you hear that, when you hear the debate, it's about competition. And I will tell you, the shock that I have had since I've been in Columbia, and how you and I have talked about this, is crony capitalism. Government is involved in everything in our lives. And I'll give you an example. The primary was my tough race. I had a trial lawyer, and I was a business guy. I had paid dues to the Chamber of Commerce for as long as I had been in business, and really our company before then. They put $600,000 up to beat me, $700,000. So I called Ted Pitts, who I like. Ted is a good guy. I served with him. I said, Ted, I don't understand this. What is the Chamber of Commerce wanting to beat me, a businessman, on it with a trial lawyer? There's nothing wrong with a trial lawyer, but my due, the taxes I pay for the police, the firemen, a lot of things that go to keeping this country afloat. And it's crony capitalism. They get their candidates that they want. And to be honest, Ted said, well, it's not the Columbia Chamber of Commerce. I said, Ted, I get that. It's the National Chamber. But if you could follow me for a day with the people that come to see me that want something from government, and it's shocking. But I have the privilege and the freedom not to have to vote the way they want me to vote, because for every $1 million I got, guess what? They would be wanting something in return for that. I have the freedom to not do that. Now, did I like putting all that money in? No. But people are great to give, and but that's why races have gotten so out of control. Many of you would be far better candidates than many of us, but it rules out people who would ordinarily run for Congress that can't do it because of the funding. But the crony capitalism, and it spans all over, folks, all across the gamut. They put the dollars in for the people they want to control, and that's been a shock to me when I got there. The only way you change that is vote to get this country back on a financial footing. And I ran on term limits. You need to get these people out of office. There's no magic to run for office. Financial stability, 20 trillion in debt. I'm not leaving my 20 grandchildren to pay for that kind of debt. The interest on the debt is going to engulf us. And it means saying no to people. In my line of work, if I said yes to everybody that wanted money or wanted me to buy from them, folks, I'd be bankrupt, so would you. And that's just not the way it is in Washington, D.C. I now see how easy it is. And when I hear these people talking, the politicians talking, I've only been up there 16 days. I know who to turn out because I know who has taken the money and who cannot vote any other way. And it's sad for this country. But I'm as confident now that we're going to change it one by one. There are a lot of other people, and by the way, I joined the Freedom Caucus, which is, the press will tell you, is a group of radicals. Folks, it's 30 business people. I just got back from Nashville, I guess what, the end of last week, and I met them. They're business guys. They're the people that just want to to do what's right. They're not controlled by anybody. And that's such a pleasant relief. And I'm not somebody who has to have the whole loaf now. I'll take a half a loaf or 3/4 of a loaf because that's what's the best interest of the company, of the country. But that's what we're going to have to do to get this country back in the shape that we need to be. What I like Speaker Ryan. He's proposing $200 billion over 10 years. We're going our budget. We'll spend $4.6 trillion. $200 billion that's only 5%. That's 0.5%. Folks, we can do that in 1 year. Politicians have a hard time saying no because a lot of them have never been in the private sector. If you're in the private sector, you know you have to say no. Yeah, but a lot of them are not in there. And so that's why we're going to have to, I will work harder now to get people that are not controlled up there on local, state, and national issues because this country is worth it. I can't tell you the military is as excited about what's going on in America as I have ever seen. I've been to private meetings. We got a guy from California that was Reagan's press secretary who's taking an interest in me in the campaign for some reason. And he said, Ralph, you want to come to a briefing, private briefing? I said, sure. Got up at 7:30, 2 guards, backs to the walls, guns, went in, and Eric Prince used to be with Blackwater, laying out a plan to take out ISIS in a quick period of time. This president is turning this military loose. And I had a meeting down at Shaw Air Force Base. In talking about North Korea, I said, this was a pilot who will be deployed if and when is needed to defeat North Korea. What he said shocked me. I said, tell me about North Korea, the threat. He said, Ralph, they've got 1952 technology. It's not a matter of if, it's when we do it. It'll be quick. But the 2 problems we face, the 3 million people within a mile of Seoul. He said, do the American people have the will when it's flashed all over the news, babies, children, people being killed, do they have the will to take the threat out? And do they have the will? He said, we're going to lose some airplanes. We're going to lose some Americans. Do they have the will to be able to stomach that? So I thought that was reassuring, yet it's kind of sobering, the fact that many people will be lost. But this president is not going to stand, as the last 8 years has, idly by. And I can't tell you the money in executive orders, that I'm not going to read them all, that he put in place to fund the military, to fund the police. Ask any policeman, and if you know them, they'll tell you on the sidebar how lucky they are that they feel like they're being backed now. And so that's why I'm excited about serving. I'm excited about what we can do. We got a good delegation here. I get along even with Clyburn. In fact, he introduced me when I was on the House floor. Did a good job. Good guy. We don't vote alike, but we're all congenial. Everything starts with a conversation. But by go, when the press was out there, you're gonna shut the government down. I said, look, let me tell you this threat. Shutting the government down comes up every year when you got a group of liberals who say, if you cut this, basically we're going to shut the government down. Here's my stance. It's up to us to tell our side of the story. If all we're doing on health care is just cosmetic and really just in words and as they describe the optics of how it looks, I'm not going to vote for it. And so does that mean shutting the government down? So be it. I have people walk in my office every day. It says, I'm going to walk away from the deal you offered. Well, walk away. Let's see what happens. That's the stance we've got to take in this country. That's what this country was built on. And we shouldn't be so scared. No deal is better than a bad deal, particularly with something like health care. We don't have a we don't have an income problem, we got a spending problem. That's what we've got to take. That's what we've got to strive to correct. I can't tell you the people, and I say this all over, and I've been all over the 5th District. Rotarians, you've got a lot of different matters of influence here. Get your rep in here and ask him at the end of next month, both state and local and national level, how you voted and why. Don't listen to the press, but get them in here and ask them. Accountability is what it's all about. Competition is what we need in the healthcare industry and in so many other industries. Get government out of our lives. That's when we'll start getting the country back on track. God gave me one mouth and 2 ears. I'll be glad to take any questions that you have.
Yes, sir. The National Flood Insurance bill is coming up at the end of September. And last time it was to be extended, only 2 of the members of the House of Representatives from South Carolina voted for the flood insurance. The people from the upstate said, well, it doesn't bother us because we are in the upstate. And as we all know, it does. So I would like to know your stand on that. I know as a real estate guy like I am, it's pretty important that we have flood insurance, particularly after what's happened in Houston.
Yeah, I'm going to vote to extend the flood insurance. What I didn't know, and by the way, I'm on the Small Business Committee in Space and Technology, but the head of financial services is heavily involved with that. He's going to present his case, and we'll get it passed to extend it. What's been happening, you hear that the flood insurance has run a deficit every year. It's what they're doing with the money. This is like the highway department, our transportation committees, the dollars are going elsewhere instead of where it should be. I'm going to vote to extend it.
Thank you.
Could you talk about the wall?
The wall?
The wall.
Absolutely. This is one thing the president ran on. This is one thing that he's promised to do. And it's like a lady told me, and she compared it to her basement. She said, I've got a flood coming in. And should I worry about getting the water up? Well, fix where it's coming in. We're going to have to build a wall. Now, I don't know how he's going to explain, the president needs to explain. I thought Mexico was going to pay for it. Maybe that's on down the road. But it's been a big stumbling block, and the president's kind of laid the gauntlet down about either fund the wall or, I think he said it's a very important issue, which it is. So I'm for the wall. Now, he's smart enough to not have to spend the money. He knows how to do where to put the solid walls. He knows where to put the electronic devices. He understands that. So, yes, ma'am.
When you talk about shutting the government down or not shutting it down, a lot of folks go, no big deal, because they've got all these government employees and it's costing us all this money. And I think some folks forget that the government contracts with for-profit businesses, or contracts. And when you shut the government down, businesses like those will also be shut down. I happen to run an agency that contracts in competitive contracts with the federal government. You shut it down, so then I get to tell all of my employees here in South Carolina, sorry, you're not going to get paid because the federal government's been shut down. So it does not just impact federal employees.
No, I understand that. But that has been the leverage point that they've used every year. You either do this, you swap off this, we're going to shut it down. Do I really think the government's going to be shut down? No. But do I think we can run from it and give in to everything under demand because they threaten to shut it down? No. Look beyond the why. That's what I'm saying. After September, get us back in here and say, if it's shut down, explain to me why. What did you not get? And in my mind, healthcare is a huge, we can't change that every year. It's got to be done right. It's a foundation we've got to do right. I get what you're saying, though. Yes, sir.
Norman, I am Gene Rogers, 40-year member of the Rotary Club. I also am a patriot, support our president, want him to be successful, support our country, and am a combat trained World War II veteran of the United States Marine Corps. I know something about what is required of soldiers and sailors in action. My question to you, sir, first of all, is what do you think of the transgendered policy of the transgender tweet of the president? And should he listen to the chief of staff of the various services and Department of Defense? Or should he overrule them, and what should happen to the transgendered thousands who are now serving and those who want to enlist? The second question is, what do you think of the pardon of the sheriff who was convicted by a United States District Court judge after full hearing of contempt of court and was pardoned of that offense without his seeking the advice of the Department of Justice. And third, simply, what do you think of the handling of the Charlottesville matter?
Sure.
What do you think?
That's a lot of questions. Let me see if I can remember this right. His first question was on transgender. Do I agree with President Trump's new executive order which prohibits transgenders from coming to the military? Absolutely, I agree with that. I also agree with the executive order before I left in 2 weeks that prohibited the funding for the sex change operation to the tune of $80 million plus, not counting the lawsuits that occur from the surgeries that either didn't go right or were off bounds. I'm absolutely in favor of that. Once you, and back up, once you've had the surgery, you can't be deployed anyway. So it's not like they could serve in the military. As far as him giving a pardon, I think he's right. I think it would never have gone through Congress. You've got that many people. The majority of people in Congress can't stand the guy. And, you know, I just disagree with them. I disagree with their stance to vote for everything along with the media on how they project that. And Pio's been a great American. He served this country. You know, profiling, in my opinion, you know, he had some lenient judges, left-leaning judges that convicted him of that. So I agree with that. Charlottesville, you know, the tragedy of Charlottesville was the young lady that lost her life, the two pilots that lost theirs, and it's a tragedy all over. And so, end of story. What went wrong was the police should have been cut loose to separate the groups, like they did when the president spoke in, I think it was Arizona. You know, if you tear down something, if you destroy something, you go into jail. And that's how he's done from day one, so I think he's right on that. This parsing of words, look at I'm trying to think of the number that Obama pardoned, the criminals that were known criminals against this country that he pardoned. Do you ever think you saw the pardons and the background of some of these people who were connected to ISIS? So no, it's the tragedy with people that lost their lives, and any other projected description of it in my mind is not right, nor is it fair. Yes, sir. Hey, did I answer all your questions, Mr. Rogers?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You mentioned term limits. Are you going to propose a bill? Is anybody going to do anything other than say they think it's a good idea to actually bring it up and see if we can make it happen?
I signed on to a bill that's already in place, and this came up during the campaign. You know, Ralph, you're putting up something that's never going to pass. I said, that's for the American people to decide. And I don't mean the elections. I mean, the thing that's ruled out good people getting involved is just what I mentioned. The price tag to run for this office. And I signed on to a bill in Congress, 6 years, 3 terms. For Senate, 12 years, 2 terms. That's all that's needed, folks. It's not magic. You just need ordinary Americans serving. Now, is it a sacrifice? I'm sleeping in my office. I'm going back to dorm life. Now, I'm glad to do that. But I'm sleeping, and Nick slept in his office. You got over 100 congressmen sleeping because you can't afford the thing. I mean, I'm not signing a $40,000 lease for a one-room shack. I'll sleep in my office before I do that. But you know, it's term limits. It's up. I think the American people are finally going to rise up, just like they did in this past election. You had 125,000 new people who would never own the rolls, who had never voted, to come out for this man. And so I think they're going to rise up, but it's going to have to be each one of you. I can't tell you the meaning that it makes to send an email, which I get 6,000 emails, just a limited time. I'm the new guy. I get a lot of emails, but a note, a simple note saying, I wish you would consider this, like a lady did with me on health care who had a pre-existing condition of cancer. That stuck in my mind. So write a note and try to stop this crony capitalism. I mean, my God, I see it. If South Carolina didn't have a constitutional amendment to balance the budget, we'd be in the same shape. VC Summer 2, what is that? That's crony capitalism. The farmer's market. I'll send any of you back in 2012, the farmer's market. I'm in real estate. I got the paperwork. I just wrote out there, said this is a graveyard. And it paid $12 million. Something's wrong. So I went out there and I sent a lot of people the things that I would bet a lot of money. I would show you the paperwork on the farm, on the travesty of that deal. You would say, how in God's name did this take place? That's what we've got to stop on a local level and on a national level. How?
You said something, Ralph, that you don't hear much about, I'll take a half a loaf or 3/4 of a loaf. People take a position, either, party position or whatever group they're part of. Do you see really, opportunity in Congress to get more people actually talking and being able to withstand, that special interest on either side and really be able to find and move us forward where we can actually work closer together as regular citizens? Is that, I've seen it on both sides. I mean, Mark Sanford was notorious for just saying, back in the day, no, if I can't get everything, I'm just not going to do it. I think he's softened a little bit on that. But do you see any progress in that area?
If they hear from enough constituents in their district, they'll change. They'll have to. The most important thing, and I hear it all the time, is going back and get reelected. What's the optics? I mean, really? I'm so lucky I'm at this age to not have to worry about, am I going to get, what the people going to think? It's not that hard. And in my mind, if we just do the right thing, and on health care, that's just a huge issue. Cuts to the budget. I get people talk about the gasoline tax before I left. There's more money in this budget. It's $3 billion in sales tax exemptions. I get, as a contractor, a sales tax exemption on porta potties. And guess what? Everybody wants to cut, but the minute we tried to cut that, you had all these people that, the lobbyists, which are good, they're smarter than we are, coming in, we got to have it. No, you don't. You say no. So the answer, Hal, is if enough people rise up and say, and that's where Trump is coming from, let it explode, let them hear from enough people. If South Carolina has the continued increase in premiums like we've seen, like that lady who called me before I came here, single, divorced mom, $600 jumping to $1,500, $10,000 exemption. You let them hear from her, get something passed, they'll change. But until you threaten their office and say, you got to do something. And I'm just not going to vote for cosmetic stuff, particularly on that. On cuts, we're going to take a hard line on it. $200 billion, 0.5% a year, and the country $20 trillion in debt, and they talk about raising the debt ceiling. I'm asking leadership, you tell me how I can face my people in the 5th District when I ran on fiscal accountability, raising the debt ceiling. Explain that to me. Show me how I justify what I ran on. And you get a glum look on their face.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just one quick question. Do you think there'll be a tax cut or a tax reform?
Well, we're good at tax cuts. Corporate tax rate will come down to either 15, 18%, 34%. We're good at cutting taxes. And we're also good at raising that debt ceiling where, to pay for it. But insist on some, I could take any one of you and show you some of the ridiculous things that they have, and you would laugh at it, to be honest with you. I see you standing up. Y'all got a great group. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We're not going to end with song today, but I did have one announcement. If you are looking for a parking space over here at the corner of Shop and George Rogers for a game, for the games, the Forest Acres Rotary, it has 2 more spaces left. See Rusty, and we're going to go ahead and end without song. So we will not meet next week, and we'll send out the information about the September 11th meeting. So everybody have a great week.